Ani, bonjour. My name is Corey Swanborg, and I'm a descendant of Little Traverse Bay Band of Ottawa Indians. And this is some of the craft work that I do. I do lazy stitch, lane stitch, peyote beadwork, loom work. I smoke my own hides, and I do knife work. I use custom carbon blade handles, carbon blade steel, exotic woods, and mostly what I like to do for the beadwork is size 11s, 11 seed beads. This piece here, this brain tan elk from Manitoba, Canada, and it has lazy stitch, and it's been smoked. This piece here, which I'll be beading on later on, this is commercial elk hide, and it has a golden. I'll be showing you a demonstration on the lazy stitch or lane stitch technique in a little bit. Here's some of my peyote beadwork. Here's our NAC, Native American Church Rattle with a gourd. It's all handmade. It's got a good sound to it. I also make little booties, little moccasins for children. This leather here is commercial elk hide. Now the difference between commercial leather and brain tan, commercial is made in a factory with chemicals, and brain tan, they're scraped, they're stretched, scraped again. There's 13 steps on how to process brain tan. They would get the brain tan emulsion, and then they would rub it on, work it in, stretch it, keep stretching, wring it out, and you get a final project like this. Very fine hide. It's very, very good leather. They range about $28 to $35 a square foot for brain tan, and usually a hide's about $250. Now with the commercial stuff like this, that's from the factories, the commercial, that ranges from $5, $8, maybe sometimes $10 a square foot. It just depends on what you want, or what kind of thickness, or what grade you want. I also make flutes. This is cedar. This is the Kia F, and I hand make this all by hand. I hand tune it also myself. I'll play a little bit for you. The next segment I'll be doing a segment on lazy stitch beadwork, and I will also show you the procedures how to do it. Well, to start out with the lazy stitch or lane stitch technique, you want to have all your supplies ready. Number 11 size needle for 11 size beads, beeswax, needles, a good pair of scissors. I'm using a nylon based string, size D. I get most of my supplies from crazycrow.com. Anything you really need there, they have it. So I am going to start on the lazy stitch beadwork. I'm going to tack it down. You got to remember, wherever your needle goes is where your beads will go. So I usually start off and try to get as straight as I can on the edge. I'm left-handed, so I move left to right. And bead placement is very important when you're starting out. What I did here, I just made a little loop. Made a little knot here so I can knot it down. All right, I'm going to grab, maybe I'm grabbing 7 beads. And remember, this is where you want to make sure your beads are placed very strategically, because I don't draw lines on leather. I go from my first bead off. Some people, cultures, they usually put lines on their leather. I don't. But if you decide to, and that's how your style is, use pencil, never use ink. Alright, so when you get started here, make sure it's nice and tight. There we are. There's our first row. It's very straight. It's looking good. I'm going to get another 7 beads. So what you want to do, line up your next beads right here. Line up. So what you do is you prick the leather. You prick it about a bead's length apart and go through and come through the other side. You never go through the leather on the back side of it. You're just going through the top layer of the epidermis of the leather on the top part. There you go, there's line 2. Keep it snug and tug. Just a nice little snug. Alright, let's get another 7. Now this is how I usually do it. I just lay my beads down on a little piece of leather or felt, and you can do it like this, or you can take them actually right off the hank of the beads itself when you order the beads. When you order the beads from like Crazy Crow or Supplier, they usually have them on hanks. I like to take mine off. That way I'm in more control of going through them and selecting the best beads so they can match up pretty darn good, as close as you can. Now remember, you want to prick it through the top layer. You don't want to go through the back side. You just want to push through all the way. You're pricking the top. There's line 3. There. Now we're getting a very nice straight line. Maybe I can do a triangle pattern, show you the techniques of that. Get another 7 beads. So when you're doing the 7, and you're doing like say a triangle pattern on a lazy stitch, start with the color down here, the red, and you're just going weaving back and forth, up and down through the whole thing, and you got to prick the top. And you don't go through, you just prick the top. You might think it's not going to hold the beads very well, but it will. Leather's very durable. So we went through the bottom, we're back at the top here. So we're going to do 5 white and 2 red. And there we are. We're starting to stack the ladder. And we're back at the bottom again, pulling it through. Just a nice snug and tug. You can start seeing the pattern developing now. So now we're back at the bottom. Now we're going to do 3 reds. And you keep repeating over and over. It can get very tedious, but the outcome is very rewarding. You can be very selective in your beads also. You might find one that looks like a goofy hat. I call them hats because not all beads are perfect when they come from the factory. They could be wobbly, extra fat, extra skinny. So we're back at the top. We're going to do 3 whites and 5 or 4 reds. There are a lot of politics that go along with beadwork. People might not think. I mean, there's traditional standards, from each tribe to tribe. There's over 530 some tribes in North America, and each one have their own culture, their own traditions, their own way of beadwork, our culture, and our way of beadwork for the Anishinaabe people is applique. Applique started about 1880s, some will say 1860s, when the Anglo, the white people came over. They were wearing floral dresses, the women. Flowers, decorations. So the native people, they wanted to copy that. Well, they wanted to copy that, so they wanted to say, hey, I want to resemble that. That's pretty. I'm going to do some beaded applique, make some flowers. So they started beading the flowers, and that's how a tradition started with the Anishinaabe people. That's just one of the stories. I don't claim to be an expert, but that's just one of the stories that I've heard. All right, so as you can see, we're starting to get a nice pattern started here with the triangle. I'm going to go do probably one more red up, and then you start back down on the other way, all the way back down. You start decreasing the amounts of the beads. So I'm going to do a blue next to break it up. Do 7 here. And some nice little color. These beads are a little bit fatter, but that's okay. There's many styles of beadwork. There's beaded applique, lazy stitch, peyote, brick stitch. Oh, there's tons of it. Don't forget to use your resources. You know, internet, books, ask the elders. Don't be scared to talk to someone. Just go up and talk to them. They'll be fine. I've done that many times, and each little tip, even if it's the smallest little tip, makes a world of difference. All right, so I'm going to show you how to step down now on the lazy stitch. We got one blue as a divider. Beading is such a joy, because if you start out on commercial brain tan from the factories that's used with chemicals and other stuff like that, and you switch over to brain tan, I'll give you an example. You might have seen how difficult it was for me to do this part here with this stitch. This is brain tan elk, smoked. I traded a native man in Green Bay for quite a few things for a whole hide of elk. So this is some very good stuff. I mean, you see how easy it goes through? I mean, it's just almost through both sides. This is brain tan. All right, I'm going to do one more step, and that should be it. I'm starting back from the bottom again. Just snug it up, tug it. Get another 7 beads. Now the white's coming straight back down, and you can start seeing the pattern coming back with the red. Remember, needle placement is everything. If you're going lane stitch, you want to come up to the right from where the bead's at, 1 bead length apart, and come through your leather. It's nice snug and tug. All right, you can see I'm starting to decrease the red and adding more white, making the little triangle step pattern, and we'll be continuing this all the way through. And Sometimes you might want to do quarter beadwork, half. Some people like doing full. It just depends on what you would like to do. Thank you very much.